Alright, are you ready? Let's do this.
Alright.
Alright, welcome to No New Ideas, episode 3. If you are watching us on YouTube, you can see we have a new podcast setup, which I think is nice.
Oh, way better.
Way better. Makes me feel like Alex Jones before he went off the deep end when he was just screaming about the moon landing.
I think you're already close to the deep end.
Bishop. Well, that's a matter of opinion. I'm Clinton Davis.
Rudy Hernandez.
Rudy Hernandez, our co-host here, and we're going to get right into it. The movie today is going to be Exorcist 2, The Heretic.
Which is a special franchise for me.
It's a special franchise for everybody.
Yeah, it's true.
One of the best. Well, the first movie is the best.
Yeah.
We'll get to it. I want to talk first about a movie that I bought very recently called Suffer Little Children. Suffer Little Children. It is a movie that is somewhat of an Exorcist ripoff. Came out after, I think it's 84, maybe 83. It is a British shot on VHS movie.
Be hit or miss. Those are really questionable.
They're mostly miss as far as quality, but I find a lot of them very charming.
Yeah.
Because they're a DIY thing, and I like that sensibility. I like that we've got to get this movie made at all costs.
Yeah.
We've got a video camera. Let's just do it. Suffer Little Children is one that does not work because for one thing you can't hear any of the dialogue or very little of it. Everyone has a very thick British accent and
like Cockney British or
just British, but it's just different enough to where they all talk low. It's all very and it's just flawless British accent, and you just can't understand anybody in it. But it's about a demon girl, demonic girl that is brought to an orphanage, and about her taking over the orphanage with her demon powers, which sounds great.
Yeah, I was thinking,
sounds like a fun premise.
I like that.
It is literally it's a 70-minute movie, and it's 60 minutes of people sitting around talking, and in bad British accents. But the reason I bring it up today is that this is the tagline. For Suffer Little Children when it was released. The tagline is, and it's long, the evil dead scared you. The Exorcist haunted you. The film you will remember for the rest of your... I screwed it up already. This film you will remember for the rest of your life. The most controversial movie of all time.
I guess they never watched Cannibal Holocaust.
They have never seen any movie because this movie is not controversial at all. It's just got wonderfully amateurish, terrible special effects. It's got it's a 70-minute movie and it's got about 10 minutes of plot in it. The best part of it, I'm just going to throw out a spoiler alert for Suffer Little Children. The best part of the movie is in the last 10 minutes that literally Jesus shows up to save people in the end.
I think that's untreaded water there.
I mean, they didn't do that in Exorcist.
That's true.
Jesus didn't make a cameo, and we're talking like crown of thorns, like crucifixion wounds, stigmata wounds. He shows up and there's like strobe lights, and he's like saving people. Oh, it's worth watching for the last 10 minutes, but
oh my God.
It's just funny that, and I understand that when they're marketing these movies back in the 80s and it extended into the 90s, but they would make the box cover look so like scary. Like the art for this movie is actually pretty awesome. It looks like it should be spray painted on a van somewhere, or done in black velvet in a head shop, because it's really cool. It's real demonic looking, but the movie is just nothing.
Yeah, there's a thing like even now, like the 80s horror movies, like the covers are just so awesome and freaking. I remember going to a Blockbuster and Hollywood Video back in the day and picking up all the VHS cassettes and just looking at all these covers and wanting to get all of them, like slowly making my way down the catalogs, and I've come to realize that usually the movies with the best cover art were the worst.
Oh,
movies.
they're terrible. There was a movie. I don't even know if I ever actually saw it, but there was the box cover for a movie called Rawhead Rex. Rawhead Rex. And it's some kind of monster movie. Like I said, I don't know if I even saw it ever, but the cover was just this, like, and I think it's a still from the movie, of just this monster that looks like it's got a skinned head and like fangs. I can still see it, like it's all like and it. God, I remember just being like just taken in by that and the box cover for the Deadly Spawn.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Where it's just like the big blood monster. And it's like just a mouth. Yeah. Just a big mouth. Yeah. And it's just gore all around the box. Oh, man. And the movie itself is pretty gory, too.
I think that your impersonation of Rawhead Rex reminded me of, even the cover you would describe it, reminded me of Pumpkinhead.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that's what the cover for Pumpkinhead, I think it was like Pumpkinhead 2 or 3, made me watch that series when I was a little kid, was just the Pumpkinhead, like his thing, like he was just. I remember looking back now, it kind of just looks like a mutant old woman monster alien thing. He doesn't look as cool as he did, but actually, no, there was recently a toy of him that came out that was really bad. Like that was like a figurine that looked badass. But anyways, that's what that reminded me of. And Pumpkinhead is dear to my heart.
I have not seen Pumpkinhead in a long time. It was one I saw a couple of times when it came out, like in the high school era. And I remember, because it's Stan Winston, right?
Yeah.
That directed it, is that right?
Yep.
Yeah, special effects guru Stan Winston, and Lance Henriksen stars, which is very cool. Genre vet Lance Henriksen. I remember liking it, but it was not a movie I was ever like super passionate about.
I liked it a lot. I was young. I was really young. Like I'm talking about like elementary young when I was watching it.
Yeah.
And I remember specifically. I think it's in 2. I remember a specific scene, and I think it's in 2. It might be in 3, but where it's like a nudity scene.
Sure.
Mind you, I'm little, right?
It's fine.
And I really didn't know what was going on. I really didn't even care.
Yeah.
But I remember like watching it, and then like as soon as that scene came on, I really didn't even process what was going on to the TV, but like the same aunt I mentioned in the last episode, the screamer lady, it was really, really adamant about like nudity, like just keeping the shelter. Like like I used to hide, because I guess like you said, like my dad was into like 80s metal, so I had like King Diamond cassettes and Merciful Fate cassettes that I would. When I visited her, I don't even know why I kept them with me, honestly, but I was stuck them in the jacket, hide them under her bed, just so she wouldn't throw them away, because she threw them away. But that's another, I'm going off. But I remember her coming in the room as soon as that thing comes on, and I got, like, beat verbally and then, like, almost physically. I'm pretty sure. Like, I saw it.
Pumpkinhead had nudity in it, you get beat?
I was like, I'm pretty, like, she was right. She was close. I saw it in her eyes.
That's, well, you know, we all have different childhoods. the first nudity that I remember seeing in a movie was Caddyshack. Not a horror movie, but Caddyshack nudity. Thank you for blossoming me into the man I am today. So that's Suffer Little Children. It's a terrible movie. It's literally like I said, I like the VHS, or I like the shot on VHS movies. There's some really good ones out there. We went, my wife and I went to see Jungle Trap at the Alamo Drafthouse, and it was a good time. I mean, it's a bad movie, but it's fun. This is where it cuts the other way, where it's you respect what they've done, and that they've tried to DIY this movie into existence, but it's just boring. And it's just not.
What were you talking about? Like a big scene where they're in a club and you can't see.
Oh crap. yeah. They go to a nightclub, 2 of the characters at one point, and it's just dark. I mean, like, you just can't see anything, and then without the subtitles on, you can't understand anything. Yeah. So I mean, you're just going to lose all focus on that. It's just going to take you out of the movie.
That reminds me of there's a movie called Japayuki, which is
what's it called?
Japayuki.
Japayuki.
Pretty much what it is like it's about a Filipino girl that goes into the nightlife of Japan, right? As a worker. Right, and she's like an entertainer, and which is, I mean, it's a common thing in general. But get like the mob or like the, gets involved and all that stuff, and it's pretty much like a horror movie, like what the worst thing can happen in that field, right?
Okay,
but I'm pretty sure they didn't have like filming permits and stuff like that. So like a lot of the stuff's like offhanded freaking camera views where it looks like they were hiding the camera and things like that. Like, so it's bad. I mean, like that sort of reminded me of, like, you have a lot of bad angles or like terrible lighting things, and it's sort of reminded me of.
That's really great. There's that can work.
Yeah.
There's a movie. It's not a horror movie. It's a little indie movie called Roger Dodger. That's about I think it's a Campbell Scott's in it, and it's about like a nephew going to stay with his uncle in the big city, who's like like a Wall Street guy, that kind of thing. And all of the exteriors they shot like on the run. And it just, for whatever, I mean, the way they did that, they shot it all like no permits, just like had the actors walking down the street mic'd, and that chaoticness works, and it like fuels the movie, and it makes it look like they had a huge budget because they're shooting on the streets of New York, but they just did it and hope they didn't get arrested or kicked off. So it's really cool. Anyway. So now we are not talking about horror movies at all, just indie films. Speaking of movies that don't work and movies that are really boring, let's get into Exorcist 2, The Heretic. A little backstory before we start in with the plot. This takes place a few years after the original. As far as the production is concerned, nobody really wanted to make this movie.
I think it's apparent.
William Friedkin, who directed the original, wanted no part of this. William Peter Blatty, who wrote the original novel of The Exorcist and wrote the screenplay, didn't want any part of it. None of the actors wanted to be involved. They did get Linda Blair eventually. And Max von Sydow came back to do the little cameos and stuff. And the only other actress that they could get, or actor, to be in it was Kitty Wynn, who plays her nanny. Who is a character that I don't know if I could have told you was in the first movie or not. Because she's in the first movie. She's the nanny in it. I mean, I didn't even remember that character existed.
No, she's
there.
Now I remember.
She's around in the house.
Rewatching it, I thought she was just like a
new character, like a new handler.
It's like, well, we're not having the mom, so here you go. That's why I thought. I totally forgot she was in the first movie. And I've seen the first movie a hell of a lot of times.
Ellen Burstyn flat out refused to be in this movie. It was just like, no, there's no way.
Now, was it because of the way the first one happened and everything, or was it just like they read it and like
they were just because I guess they went through a few different scripts and none of them were good. And according to Linda Blair, she said that what ended up being like the final product is like extremely different from what the script that she was shown. Ended up being. Like, they, I guess, went through a whole bunch of different rewrites and stuff, and she was not happy with it, and did not like the movie, but was already locked into a contract to do it.
That must be terrible.
Oh, I'm sure it was awful, and I think it shows on screen. Richard Burton, who is, was a fairly big actor, the 50s, 60s, on into the 80s before he died. He is stated on the record that he only did this movie because he was getting divorced from Elizabeth Taylor at the time, and needed money, badly. And that's the only reason he did this movie.
You gotta love the hustle of the directors and casting people.
Apparently the set of this movie was extremely tense because Richard Burton was a notorious alcoholic and was not able to keep that unchecked during the making of this movie. And also, Linda Blair, who as a child actress really went off the rails into drugs and stuff, was at the peak of her drug addiction while she was doing this movie, and was apparently hours late to set all the time because she'd been out partying and all that kind of thing. everyone was a mess on this movie.
Yeah.
The director, John Boorman, was fresh off of Deliverance, which is a huge hit.
Yeah,
and was a great movie on top of that.
That movie is still freaking, like, that's one movie where every time I watch it, it's just that movie is just hard to watch.
It's an unpleasant movie.
Yeah, and it's not even like, I guess it's not because those movies are just like fucked, like Martyrs and all that are kind of hard to watch, like on parts. But Deliverance, even like on like even the not the notorious scenes in that movie, like even just the other scenes, like it's just
a grimy, unpleasant movie.
Yeah.
And he made that and then made this, which is just Exorcist 2 is just not good. And it makes you think, wow, did John Boorman just get lucky with Deliverance? I mean, he's also not working with, like, on a good set, it doesn't sound like, and with a bad script.
And bad
bad acting and bad ideas. But anyway, he apparently was offered to direct. He was offered the original Exorcist.
Oh, really?
Which I think is interesting, and he turned it down because he thought it was like exploitation of a child, which I guess it kind of was. But
I don't get that one.
I mean, he had like moral objections to it, and he made this one because he thought it was more of a metaphysical horror movie and more like positive, which I guess.
I
mean, it would have to make sense first before it would be a positive movie. Anyway, so like that's kind of the background. When this movie was released, it tanked, and actually, that's not true. I think it made money. But
it made money,
but the critical
first
reaction.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it made kind of like how we talked with Nightmare on Elm Street 2. How like it made money off the thing mainly because of Freddy.
Yeah.
And then like enough to make the third one, but I think it was the same thing with this, as in like the first one was just so crazy and something people expected, something like that, so they just went to go see it regardless.
Yeah. Apparently it was the executives of the movie at the film premiere were laughed out of the room by the audience.
I would throw stuff at them.
There was people throwing stuff at screens and screenings. And this, I'd never heard of this before. The reaction was so bad that Boorman insisted, and the studio relented in pulling all of the prints out of the theater, and he re-edited all of the film prints and resent them back to movie theaters to make it better. So they were doing for a couple of weeks, doing 6 a day, re-editing the prints and sending them back out to theaters. I feel like would be unheard of now.
Yeah.
And I'd never heard of that happening. But
crazy.
Apparently that's what they did. They reordered some scenes and...
Well, my thing is if they did that, and this movie is still this bad, what the hell was the first thing that went out?
Yeah, I mean, and that's what I'm not sure. I couldn't really find the movie that's on the DVD that I have, or however you watched it. I assume it's the re-edited one.
Yeah, for sure. Good.
It would have to be, I would think. But it makes me curious to know what was taken out or what was.
Just cut down
because the movie's already way too long at 2 hours. Okay, so let's get into the plot. It's 4 years after the events of the original Exorcist, and Regan McNeil, Linda Blair, is 17 or 18, I think. And she's living in New York in a high-rise, but also attending... This was something I was confused about the plot. She's attending a special school. Is that what this is?
I don't...
Because they're not real clear on it.
It's the X-Men mansion.
Yeah, it's it's some kind of school for kids with special problems. It's she's in this is obviously because they couldn't get Ellen Burstyn back to be the mom, but the psychiatrist is her guardian. That works at the school, and this is played by Academy Award winning actress Louise Fletcher, who won an Oscar for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And originally was cast, this is another little production note, she was going to play Reagan's mom in this because she looks a lot like Ellen Burstyn. She was going to play the mom, and they were just going to hope no one noticed, I guess, or whatever. But then the script got a bunch of rewrites, and they just wrote that character out. So they moved her, since they already had her under contract, to the role of the doctor, Dr. Gene Tuscan, who was originally supposed to be played by a man. Huh. I mean, this movie, the production of this movie was just a mess. Wow. So, anyway. Huh. So Regan is living in New York in a high-rise that's all like chrome and fancy. It looks like the high-rise from Poltergeist 3, I thought. She's attending this school. She has no memory of the events that happened in the original Exorcist, except for she's having nightmares and night terrors. And that's why she's seeing this psychiatrist. A priest shows up at the school. This is Richard Burton's character, investigating the murder of Father Merrin.
Which is like, let's investigate this fucking half a decade later.
Yeah, it's like 5 years later. It was never explained, or if it was, I totally missed it.
Yeah.
Why they're investigating this murder now.
It's like I think they were just busy with work. You know,
no, that paperwork piling up. He's investigating the death of the priest from the original Exorcist. So he shows up at the school to talk to the psychiatrist, and she says, we're not going to bring this up to her. That's very inappropriate. You need to leave. Now we're going to put her under hypnosis. Would you like to stay and watch?
Yeah, but it's ridiculous. But one thing I can't say that came out of like the scene where he's like, we're gonna look into it, right?
Yeah.
Look into the murder was that I had. It was actually just a really, really kind of just cool one-liner talking about investigating Father Merrin and everything, and about evil and all that stuff. Was where he says, "Today, wherever I look, I see only evil.
Yeah,
God has fallen silent." And that's just a really cool one-liner for The Exorcist.
Well, that's part of the thing about about Exorcist 2 is that the idea is not the worst.
Yeah, well, like the theories they were talking about, how he thought, or one of the priests thought that eventually there's gonna be like this, bringing in this crappy ESP thing we'll talk about later, but that everybody be connected to one mind and be be connected to one mind and go to like the higher power thing, and it was like that whole theory they lay out is really, really, really cool. But then it was kind of funny too, where it's like, because it's The Exorcist, where they thought if it happened soon, they go to the devil.
Yeah, like the metaphysical concepts that are interesting, and the actual, because what they're going for is, we're gonna put Regan under hypnosis to try to cure her bad dreams, and then that's the psychiatrist's angle, is we're going to do this hypnosis to try and cure her. That's why she's being seen of these bad dreams, and the priest wants to get into these bad dreams and see if he can determine what happened to Father Merrin, which, again, why? Because they know what happened already, but it's a flimsy.
Well, they were saying that, wasn't the whole thing they're trying to justify that as they thought he became a devil worshiper or something.
Oh, that's right. They think he's he was worshiping the devil.
Yeah, and so they were trying to look into that.
But again, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But at any rate,
and go real quick. That freaking that hypnosis machine.
Oh, we're gonna talk about the synchronizer.
Yeah, like that thing was like, what the hell was that? Like a wacky seizure machine. That's what it was. It was like
it was just like a disco transistor radio. It's this machine that it looks like a mini phone booth, or like a big transistor radio, and it's got two lights on it, strobe lights that flash in your face, and with a noise that literally every time the noise went off, it made me think my cell phone was ringing. Because it sounds like a ringtone. And they use this to sync Regan up with the psychiatrist at first, but also the priest.
The priest is like, let me get in on
this. The priest is like, this looks great.
Let me get in on this.
It's like watching someone play like Oculus Rift. You're like, well, I gotta try that. What it does is create synchronized hypnosis.
Yeah.
Which is so dumb. It is
Yeah.
not. It is the whole plot of this movie hinges on a ridiculous piece of technology, which is okay because lots of horror movies are like that. You could say that The Fly, which hinges on like teleportation pods, is ridiculous.
Random, but just The Fly, the scene where the freaking with the playing arm wrestling and press a button. That's just so cool.
That's the grossest thing. It was when I saw that as a kid. It was one of the grossest things I'd ever seen, and it's still pretty gross.
I mean, we stopped playing arm wrestling for a long time.
Like that movie hinges on ridiculous technology, but it works because it's science fiction and it's believable in the world. This is just dumb.
Yeah, it's stupid.
It's inserting technology into a horror movie where it doesn't need to be.
Yeah,
they could have done anything. Just regular old hypnosis would have worked just fine. They don't need. Now that being said, the shots where they're hooked up to the machine and the strobe's going off, that does look kind of cool. I will give them that.
Okay. That does look kind of cool, but then you add into the mix the freaking amazingly, like if there was a poster thing of bad acting, was the great thing like Linda Blair's like horrid eye rolling, like when she's being like how do you roll your eyes up and go cross-eyed at the same time? Like
that was impressive, actually.
It just looks so bad, and even that, like her lolling, like her face lolling into like hypnosis. It was bad.
Well, I'm going to blame the drugs on that one.
That's true.
Also, Linda Blair, not a great actress, even though she got an Oscar nomination. I'm fairly certain for The Exorcist, which was deserved.
Yeah, that movie was
But she did not.
She peaked in
that
14 or whatever the hell she was,
and I don't know if really has been in a good movie since.
Wasn't she a host of like some haunted? There's like a. I don't even know where the hell the show's on, but I'm pretty sure I saw her as a host in like most haunted places in America or something like that. I
would not be surprised.
I remember seeing her, and it's just weird because she's just like a woman now. And like she still has like the Linda Blair demon child baby face.
She got a real baby face.
Yeah, so
but Linda Blair's still got to eat. So if she's getting hosting gigs, that's great. I think that's probably like best case scenario for Linda Blair. And not to be mean to Linda Blair, I'm sure she's a lovely person now.
You know she's listening to this.
Yeah, well, to Linda Blair, we're real big in the horror starlet community, I'm sure. So anyway, they start this hypnotherapy thing. I'm sure Heather Langenkamp is wringing her hands over the things I said about her. Gonna up her therapy bills in the last episode. Anyway, this hypnosis it reactivates the demon inside of her.
Yeah, Pazuzu.
I guess Pazuzu. That was never really made clear because Linda Blair doesn't do anything evil until the end.
Yeah, and like let's go to like the evil Reagan to called Pazuzu thing where she's all that horror thing where he's just like watching, the priestess is watching, and like the therapist is like going to convulsions, which just looks like throes of ecstasy.
Yeah,
pretty much, and like they're supposed to like she's supposed to be like grabbing the heart, but it just looks like she's being groped.
Yeah, it's just like grabbing her boob.
Both of them are just like fondling her. And,
that was
like it just looks bad.
Okay, I liked the special effect, the like overlay.
See, that
stuff was kind of cool.
That was alright. Like that was cool. Like, and then, like when it went X-ray. Overlay and saw the heart and stuff. That was cool.
That part was kind of cool. That was a neat special effect, and there are some good special effects in this movie, which I think is one of the redeeming factors. Like the part at the beginning where the lady catches fire, looks kind of cool.
Like I'm all for like the cheesy. What was it like the stops? Where it's just like. And then just like
it's just literally like putting the two shots over each other.
I'm all for that.
It looked cool, I thought, but it is very silly because one shot is literally just them like grabbing at that lady at Louise Fletcher.
Is it right here? Is it right here? It's like,
and it goes on for a long time.
After a while, I was like, this is slightly uncomfortable.
This is just groping on a poor woman. So like. That happens. There's the Pazuzu the demon Pazuzu gets reawoken And that really is where my understanding of the plot of this movie ends.
Well, and even later, isn't like Father married in there too or some shit like that?
Well, okay, they do flashbacks to. Okay, this is one of the biggest problems I have with Exorcist 2 is because there are flashbacks to the original movie, which is fine, but they don't use the original footage.
Yeah,
they try to recreate scenes from the original movie badly. For one thing, Linda Blair refused to go back into the Exorcist makeup. So it's not Linda Blair playing the demon. And you can tell. You can badly. Really tell. It's because the acting is different. The face is different. It's the same like Exorcist girl makeup, but it's not Linda Blair.
Yeah, it is.
So like, what the hell is the point? Like, why even do that? Especially when you've got footage. You could. I am assuming it is some sort of rights issue.
Oh, probably.
Or something.
Maybe somebody else.
But it's just the movie just kind of takes a big dump over the original like movie's legacy by like trying to reshoot scenes, which is just silly. And like that brings Max von Sydow back, which I guess is good, but.
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense. From that point on, like the first 10 minutes or so are silly, or the first 20 minutes were, this movie takes a long time, so however long it took to get to that point, to the hypnosis, was fine, because that all more or less makes sense. After that, this movie is just a mess as far as plot. Father Lamont, who is Richard Burton's character, the priest that's trying to uncover the death, he goes off to Africa for a long time.
Africa.
And it's just kind of like wandering around looking for somebody.
Or the jump skip there, but like when he's in Africa, and then they call. Here's a spoiler: Reagan's now a psychic. Does that so? But like he's lost, can't find what he's looking for, and then Reagan syncs with him via ESP. Yeah. He's like, it's right in front of you, and then 3 steps. Oh, here it is.
Oh, it's right here.
It's like, what the fuck? For like all of that's like, what the fuck? But
the whole middle chunk of the movie, just is so doesn't it's boring.
Yeah,
and it doesn't.
It's bad. Or going back and he looks behind the fucking rock and there's the corpse of the motherfucker that fell in like when Pazuzu was first. It's like, did y'all just not like oh, how'd you know he was there? It's like, did y'all not look behind that rock?
He fell off of a cliff, and you saw where he landed.
Yeah. It's like, and then they're like, and the tribes are like, how did you know this and that? And it's like, did y'all just not look behind this rock that you're 10 feet away from? Like, you didn't excavate anything. You didn't freaking dig up the corpse. It was just, hey,
there's.
Like,
he wasn't like well hidden at all.
Yeah, it was like
right there.
That was kind of bad. And then
I will be honest with you. I think I kind of zoned out a little bit at parts in this. And there's Father, while he's there, I think in the dream or the vision, he's supposed to be like a locust god.
He looks terrible.
He looks terrible. It's a terrible costume. The special effect, he has to do the test of faith where he steps on the nails.
That's really, really cool.
That part is genuinely cool, and it's like one of the few cool moments in the movie.
Yeah.
Like the special effecty scenes are not bad. I like that. I liked at the end when they for very contrived reasons get into a car wreck. Oh, the doctor and where the doctor and the nanny Kitty Wynn get into a car wreck, and she steps on the headlight. That part was really cool because there's like a puddle of gasoline, and I didn't understand why the nanny decides to.
I was thinking, like, did she get possessed?
Yeah, because it's like the nanny just turns at the end. Where at the end of the movie, this whole movie culminates with everyone, the main characters heading back to the original house in Washington D.C. for unexplained reasons.
Because that makes a lot of sense.
Because that's where it happened, I guess.
Because the room's the demon.
And they're all heading back there to do something. It's really very unclear. They're trying to, like Father Lamont is possessed by Pazuzu?
Is it? No, I don't know.
I really got. I mean, it is really confusing.
So they go into this room, and like there's good Reagan and there's Pazuzu Reagan.
Yeah.
And then like Pazuzu Reagan's like a sexy Reagan.
Yeah, she turns into like she tries to
like she wears a little bralette, just like being like a seductress kind of thing.
Yeah, it's
like
it's really inappropriate. Yeah, it feels really weird.
It looks like a freaking deleted scene from Lolita.
Yeah,
or something.
It almost seems like Linda Blair wanted to appear as like a sexy actress, so like it was part of her contract because there's no reason.
And there's really no, and it literally takes a minute for like the freaking perverted lech to come out of Father Lamont.
Yeah,
and it's like just hops on.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it's like what the fuck?
It's like I don't even understand how they got there because all of a sudden he gets possessed through one of the synchronized hypnosis scenes and just runs off to like Penn Station to get on a bus or to get on a train, I guess. And then the doctor, the psychiatrist lady, and the nanny realize that they're going to the Washington House, so they get on a plane and are flying to Washington. So there's like this whole like a scene where there's like a train going and the plane is flying and they're like racing to the Washington brownstone.
And then like the bad and then okay, you get to that thing and like I guess like the evil Reagan like materializes and then there's two Reagans in, right? So like you have going back to like the
Linda Blair wanted 2 paychecks.
That's exactly. It's double dipping.
Yeah. There's
pretty sure it's legal.
It's Pazuzu as Reagan materializes, and then she's fighting with Richard Burton, fighting with Father Lamont, while real Reagan is just kind of off to the side.
Well, there's a scene where, like you said, like he's just like, "Are you sure that's fighting?" I thought they were like,
they're just. I mean, it's just
like they're going at it.
They're flopping around.
Yeah, like I thought it was like he just turned to a lech and just like went all at her. Right?
I mean, I think it started that way, but it
became like a
fighting.
Yeah,
it doesn't. I mean, this movie plot wise is just so far off the rails. Like trying to explain it literally makes me feel insane.
Yeah,
because I don't understand. I don't understand anything that happens in the last half of the movie, other than I now know how locusts swarm and mate, which is if you're interested in that.
You can either
find out all the information you need to know.
So it's really a documentary.
Well, at least that chunk of it is. I guess that's as far as the movie itself. I guess that's it. It's. Let's get it. Okay, one of the things that we are trying to do with this podcast is determine on a sequel by sequel basis if that sequel deserves to exist in place of a new idea. Like, should everyone that was involved in this production, should they have been focusing their energy on something else other than making a sequel to the original movie, in this case, The Exorcist?
Yeah, and like real quick, because this too had nothing to do with the novels, right? Like it had nothing to do, like part 3 was supposed to be the part 2.
Yeah, part 3 is supposed to be
like the continuation of the novel.
And part 3 is pretty good. It's a pretty good movie.
I honestly don't remember it. So
it's been a long time. We will cover it at some point because it's worth it. It's got some really good stuff in it. But and if they had made that as part 2, I don't know if that would have even.
Honestly, like I think Exorcist is such an iconic movie. Like it was groundbreaking. I mean, like we were watching like documentaries about it where people were like vomiting in the freaking theaters and people like hysteria. People like. Like people come running out of the theater.
Yeah,
and stuff
I told my mother that we were doing this movie last time I talked to her, and she said to me, she was like, "Oh, well, the original Exorcist was the scariest movie I ever saw." I remember she said that she watched the movie, through her fingers when she watched it. I mean, and this was in the 70s when it came out. I mean, this movie scared the shit out of people.
Yeah, it did. I know, like. All my family, grandmother, aunts, uncles, all of them were terrified of this movie.
Yeah.
All of them. And I said even like...
Especially because you come from a heavy Catholic background.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that fucked your whole
people
family.
don't know San Antonio in Texas is predominantly Hispanic, which means it's predominantly Catholic. Like there's a lot of giant Catholic churches there and Catholic schools and all that stuff. So like I remember like my grandmother, aunts, uncles, like all of them were like horrified of the movie, and then like it was to the point where it was weird since they were like, I mean like my dad was on to like metal stuff, so like friggin' rebellious, like
sure,
and they do like the occult stuff to rebel against the heavy Catholic thing, which is kind of not too unpopular over there either. But like so he was on to like this crazier just left hand path of weird stuff, but I remember being little, like that movie would constantly be on in rotation every couple of months. Like I could friggin' mouth off like the lines of that movie because I watched it so much when I was younger, and to where not so much after I learned what it was, and it was all scary as shit. But I remember them talking about, like my uncle talking about that he saw it in Corpus Christi, which is the name of this little town city thing, is even more Catholic.
Oh yeah.
Like that people were, he said he remember watching it and having people like, there was people like running out of the theater and just couldn't watch it, and it was like people like not protesting against it, but like literally trying to get it taken away from the theater and stuff over there. It was
at the time was not something that a mass audience had ever seen before. It scared the shit out of people.
Yeah,
because it's real. And this, the original Exorcist used all the like subliminal,
like the quick shots
of the faces and stuff. So even if, even if you knew you were seeing a scary movie, all that stuff is like messing with your head too. And I mean, this movie got under people's skin.
Yeah.
So I guess like does it make sense that they made a sequel out of it? Yeah, obviously they were going to try. Movie studios like to make money.
Yeah, for sure.
So
money's over everything. But I think even if Part 3, which is obviously a better movie, I don't think anything that came out after this movie, that movie would have done well.
No,
it just can't.
It's going to pale in comparison to one of the greatest horror movies ever made.
Yeah, it's just they were pretty much just like doing from the start, kind of thing. But this one was just like,
but this was such a bad direction.
Yeah, because at this point too, like I think the worst thing about this movie in general is that it's not a horror movie. It's not scary.
No, it's not scary at all.
To be in the franchise of like one of the greatest horror movies that were made, especially like like in this time period at all, like for you not to even be scary or
not even try to be scary,
not even try. Yeah, like it's just like it's a sin.
Yeah, and it continues the story. I mean, it does continue because it follows Reagan, and it continues the story a little bit, but in an unnecessary way. A better continuation of Reagan's story. Did you watch any of the Exorcist TV show?
See, I didn't, and like for me, like anything going to The Exorcist, like I'm already like checked out. Like I mean, even was it Exorcist New Beginning?
Yeah.
I mean, like granted, I think that's probably one of the best out of all of them. I think that was the better one, the best one. I actually liked parts of that. Like for me too, like when you go to like the whole Mesopotamia, Africa thing for like the roots and origins of like the devil and stuff. I like that stuff in general. So like with the fact that they went to it, I think they did it good. Overall, I thought it was good, but like at the same time, the movie kind of sucked.
I just remember I saw it in the theater, and I saw it that one time, and I remember I remember being so bored by it.
Yeah, well, but like I expected it to be kind of boring because even like the original Exorcist, it's really slow moving.
Yeah, it's a movie from the 70s. Yeah, so all those movies, even the horror movies, action movies, whatever, were all much more leisurely paced than now.
And like but like there's just a couple things like when they go into the room and you have like the freaking Pazuzu thing like in the blood flies like and the gore into the wall that and you have the locusts, but they're actually like they're done good. There's not like a fucking just a clusterfuck of them.
Or you talking about it from the second one?
Or like because like in the New Beginning there was locusts in there, but it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Second one was just like I don't know.
All of the locust swarms that were not the close-ups where you can tell it's actual bugs. Yeah. All of these swarms were painted packing peanuts that they just shot out of like a leaf blower. I learned that in my little research for it. I thought that was interesting.
That's funny.
Because it didn't look like terrible, but you know, it's
it didn't look
not great either. It just kind of looks like a locust snow globe.
That's funny. But what I was saying was like, there's that scene. Like that scene was really good.
Yeah.
And then when they go into the crypt, like it just kind of just saying too, where like Mo, how they were saying like the statues usually had the spears facing down to like keep the demons or whatever, but then like they were reversed, like inverted, you know, like how all occult things usually is. But just the scene where she's on the crucifix, and then like does that weird contortionist thing to the bottom thing. That was really fucking cool.
Yeah,
like the scenes where like the possessed chick actually, like when they actually came into contact, they were cool.
Yeah.
Like overall, I think it was like I liked it, but like that wasn't the best movie, but I liked it.
I will say, if the Exorcist TV show ends up on Netflix, it may be there already, I'm not sure. I watched it when it originally aired. It's surprisingly good. Mm-hmm. It's way better than you would think it would be.
Yeah, it's on Fox.
It's on because it's on Fox. It's a network show. It ties into the original in some interesting ways. It does not take Exorcist 2 as canon, I can tell you that.
That's good.
But it does take the original. It is better than you think, and it's very interesting. It is well worth, and the acting's good in it too. I think if it had been made as like a Netflix show or something, I honestly believe it would be up for like Emmys and stuff, because I think the acting in it is really good.
I might look into it, like, because even that, like, I don't think, because I already like an extra thing, I'm already got a spinoff. I'm kind of like, because even like spinoffs, I was always real wary about it, because like the Blade series spinoff, like I saw an episode today, it was just terrible.
I didn't even know there was one.
Yeah, it's bad. Like, but then again, like the Hannibal spinoff, like that series is so
that
good.
Series, that Hannibal's is one that I started and I didn't finish for like no reason. I think they're bringing that back, by the way.
Really?
I think they're doing like another thing.
Like that series is. It's so like it's really really good.
Yeah.
So I should probably give the Exorcist one a chance. I don't know, can't say I will, but
it's worth it. It's one of those that it's more worth it than you think.
Yeah,
I will tell you that it's better than you think. It's done with some actual thought and care, which I feel like a lot of these kind of things aren't. And they got a second season too, so enough people watched it. The second season comes out next year. I think.
They should definitely say something.
So I guess the big question is, does this movie deserve to exist? I think
if you can't tell by now,
the answer is pretty clear that no. This movie just. It was a mess from start to finish. It's boring, and when it's not boring, it's just silly.
It's bad.
And you know, as we're talking about at the beginning with the like VHS shot movies, I like bad movies.
Yeah,
are bad movies. I can respect a movie that's got some passion and some heart behind it. But the worst kind of horror movies are ones that are soulless, made for money.
Boring.
Boring is the biggest cardinal sin in a horror movie, as far as I'm concerned. I'll take silly. Silly is fine, or just over the top, ridiculous, whatever. But if you're just if you're boring, you're not offering anyone anything, and that's what this movie is. Almost 90% of the time, it's just a slow fucking slog through boring stuff. So, yeah, this movie I don't think should exist.
it really shouldn't. I think, I'm like what they did with like the Beatles back in the day, where they had the mass burnings of this stuff. Mm-hmm. That should be Exorcist too. Yeah,
I'm not for like censoring media by burning, but you know what? I'll make an exception.
I like it.
This movie, but I think time has already done that to a degree, because I have talked to several people and said, "Oh, we're doing Exorcist 2," and people have. Not known that this movie existed at all, or said, "Oh, the one with George C. Scott, which is Exorcist 3." I think a lot of people think that's the sequel, because this movie is so bad and so looked down upon, or just it's irrelevant at this point. It's just not. It's hardly even canon, even though it has the people in it.
It's just.
It's just not a good movie.
It's terrible movie.
Just a poor effort.
Like, it's there, and honestly, what kind of makes me mad about it, aside from it being so bad, is that like you go into like the the ideas it brings and like the theories and stuff about the whole unified mind thing, like that's fucking cool.
Well, yeah,
shit.
well, it's like I said, the thing that's so aggravating about this movie is that it's not a bad idea.
Yeah,
like it's really like they could have done a lot with it, and they just didn't. They just everything that could have gone wrong to make this a bad movie did go wrong.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
So I guess that's it. I think that's it for this episode. Please check out No New Ideas on iTunes and Stitcher. We are now on there.
Yeah, we're on iTunes, Stitcher. We are, obviously, if you're watching the video, you're seeing it on YouTube and Facebook. You can follow us on Facebook at NNI Podcast, where we will be doing more blog-oriented posts, going deeper into our thoughts of each movie, and then just whatever randomly crosses our mind, because we're not the most professional.
No, you're gonna get a lot more locust footage. Out of this
personal home locust footage.
Yeah.
You can follow us on Twitter, which is just a mind dump essentially, like all Twitter is. At NNI Podcast. And I think, are we on anything else? Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram.
Follow us on Instagram, which will probably be the most active.
Yeah.
Which is again NNI Podcast.
NNI Podcast.
Hard to forget.
All your No New Ideas content.
Related stuff.
Yeah.
And I think
that's about it. If I can try out a exit line here.
Let's do it.
I've been Clinton Davis.
Rudy Hernandez.
This has been No New Ideas, episode 3. We will see you in the sequel, No New Ideas.
Ooh, I like that.
Episode 4. See you then.
Bye.